Recording my rant number 4. I'm still going to be unscripted, but today I was thinking about what I wanted to say. I wanted to talk about a street fight I had a few months back in February. So here I am walking with all of my gear. I got my luggage on my back, my backpack on, and my duffel bag in one hand. And as I'm walking down Glendale Avenue, and I approach Madison, I see a guy in a Honda Civic looking at his side mirror that was broken. Now, before I reached there, I noticed somebody was dressed like me. I was wearing a white t-shirt and I believe some black jeans with a black hoodie on, but in style of me. Like when my hair was longer, it was much higher. So as I see this guy, he's frustrated, he's angry. His girl's driving his car, and I'm like, hey, you need any duct tape? Duct tape will help you with that. And as I said that, something clicked, and he got out of the car quick. And on the corner of Madison, there's a patch of grass and a stop sign. So I stopped just before the stop sign, and he throws a kick at me, trying to knock me over. As he throws the kick, I catch it, because I have balance with my left hand. I just released the handles of the luggage, and I'm usually good with one hand. So I catch the kick, and I have two options. My first instinct was telling me lift the leg and have him fall backwards, but the distance between his car and the curb was extremely dangerous. And by his size, I related to Beta Max. This dude is about maybe 6'1", 6'2", 275. So as I'm holding his leg in a split second, if I lift up, he falls backwards and could break his neck in between the concrete, between the car and the curb and the street. So I decide to try to reason with this guy. Hey, I'm not the one who damaged your car. So I threw his leg to the side, and as he's grabbing his balance, I drop my bag, I drop my duffel bag, and I take off my backpack and try to tell him, hey, I'm not the one who did this. Calm down. But he's not having it. And I can't really blame him. If somebody walks by your car and all of a sudden your side mirror is broken, and then you're coming across another individual who's dressed similar, asking you if you need duct tape for that. In Los Angeles County, is that crazy here. So here we are about to face off. We circle around. He cocks back his right, and I tell him, you shouldn't have done that. Before he can let it go, I hit him with mine. Square right on the chin. Clean. And then his lights go out. And as he does, I catch him. I'm like, oh man, he's a big dude. So I sit him back on my bag, and I'm trying to tell him to calm down, but then he gets up, so I hit him with a jab, and it stuns him more. At this point, I realize that if I do any more damage, I'm gonna severely hurt this guy. So I grab him by his head, and I pull back, and I said, hey man, you need to relax. And as I did, he tapped. My guard is, I don't really let it down too much. So I'm letting it down, I'm backing up, and giving him space to gather and compose himself. And then he circles around, his girl drives around, and he's standing before me. And my guard is still up. My hands are low, but my guard is still up. And he has his hand extended, but I don't see it. So I'm like, back up, man, back up. He can't really talk because I got him square on the jaw twice. And then I throw another jab. I hit him in the face again, but the jab was just back up. And then he grits his teeth, and he's showing that his hand is extended, and I'm like, my bad, dude, you gotta understand, I'm in the heat of combat still. So I shake his hand, And we introduce ourselves to each other, you know. He tells me his handle, I read it on his neck, and I just tell him, hi, I'm Jonathan. And when you're me, you got to anticipate that your enemies will pitch you against someone good. So that way they're trying to create a villain out of you. Luckily, I was composed enough to control the situation and take this street fight and turn it into an exhibition. Don't ever judge your opponent by their stature, because you never know who's driving the wheel. I wish I could have recorded it, but in a live street fight, especially when I'm carrying all my bags, I can't just whip out my phone. Be like, hold on a second, let's not fight just yet. Let's world star this shit. But I remember, no hostility afterwards. It was just respect. And I'm thinking to myself, as you know, my journey this was earlier in the day. In February, I walked every day except for the first to go to visit Bruce Lee's statue in Chinatown. So I was in perpetual tiredness. I was in a state of in between, in and out. So my senses were sharp, but at the same time they were, I don't want to say dulled, I'll just say preoccupied. Most people in my situation, if the script was flipped, he would have killed me. But because I am me, I have to represent in a way that I have to turn a potential enemy not into a friend, but a respected opponent. Because sometimes when you have the control, it's not best to go full throttle, because you don't want to take it way too far. In most people's situations, they would have taken it as far as they possibly can. But unfortunately for me, I'm in a situation where I can't be as free as everybody else would like to be. I just can't show savagery because of my situation. And it saddens me because, one, if I hurt this guy too bad, the police, they're going to question, A, who started it? And there's 2 witnesses versus 1. Yes, 1 witness is biased, but hey. And 2, when you have villains in law enforcement, speak of the devil. You always got to watch your own back. You always got to have your own due diligence. Well, you always got to do your own due diligence. And when it comes to the police department, it's not just corrupt cops that are villains. It's the neutral cops that are villains because they won't do their job. People can assault me and they won't do anything. Just a few months ago, some dude kept coming at me with a knife. Like, yo, I don't want to talk to you. Back up. I'm not trying to have a conversation with you. There's a pandemic. Dude's coming at me with a mask trying to start a conversation at 7 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, yo, I don't have no time for this. I'm looking for something. And because I don't give him the time to speak, dude pulls out a fucking knife. Dude tries to rush me. You know what the cops did? If you look at my Twitter, nothing. They tell me to sit down next to a dude who's not going to listen to you with a knife or a blade. So the cop tells both of us to stop. And the dude walks away. And then the cop, if you don't sit down, I'm not going to help you. The fuck you mean you're not going to help me? But that's the problem. That is the fucking problem. These cops, they're not trained. They're scared of paperwork. They're scared of lawyers. Any street fights I've been in where the antagonist calls the police. Practically every one except for the one I just mentioned. Actually, I'd say about 3. 3 respectable fighters where it's a street fight. And the person who starts the problem doesn't call the police. Not 19. Just before COVID. So we're gonna say early 2019. Some faggot pulls a knife on me. I'm sitting there walking, looking for weed. And he stops in front of me like I'm supposed to move or bow for him. And he's like, you got a problem? I'm like, yeah, you in my way. Dude pulls out a knife, expecting me to be scared, so I just keep coming forward. He's over there dancing around, and I'm just sitting there walking for him, waiting for his hand to be still enough for me to grab. So then the dude runs away. And then calls the police and says that I'm the one who pulls the blade. So you know what the faggot cop does over here? It's a gay cop. With my backpack on. I wait right there. I knew he was going to call the police, so I waited right there. I called the police myself. I said, some dude just pulled a knife on me, right? So this faggot cop tries to handcuff me with my backpack on. And this sweater here, I was wearing around my waist. So he's over there searching for weapons. He grabs the knot of the sweater and he moans in my ear. And the dude who pulled the knife took off his shirt, changed his clothes, came back, pointed the finger at me, and they didn't search him. Because when he ditched his shirt, he ditched his knife. But the cops won't do shit. They're incompetent. They don't know the law. You know how many people make false accusations against me on the phone? It is unlawful to use the police to antagonize anyone. What's the PC? The PC what? 653Y? Another time, a cop comes at me. He's like, you can't be smoking weed here. First, I wasn't smoking weed. I'm sitting there typing on my phone. He said, we got a complaint that someone says you're smoking weed. I'm like, is weed illegal? No. Is smoking weed illegal? No. I'm in the designated smoking area. 1. 2, my apparatus, it's so small, it's a one-hitter. My piece pen is so small, hey, you gotta be standing right next to me to inhale the smoke. 3, I asked the dude, hey, you want me to take a sobriety test? I'll gladly take that field sobriety test for you. He refused twice. But that's just the antagonization from GCCPD. Too many faggots in the force. And that's a problem. The servicemen and women, I don't know how you can go to war with a faggot on your six who wants to replace you with a faggot. These are just people who are so fucking lazy, scared of rejection. Let me tell the story. My little sister had a friend, and he was a faggot. But he wasn't really a faggot. He was just a sensitive kid who was in love with my little sister. But my little sister was fucked up. Not by me. The only reason why she has a shred of dignity and humanity is because of me. But because of the monsters my mom brought around. So then, this kid, you know, I could tell he likes my sister. I'm like, hey man, you're a good kid. I like you. I know you like my sister. Why don't you go tell her you like her? You got my support. I'm big brother. You got my okay. You got the green light. But you know what he does? He lies to her to get close to her. Because he's too scared to either be rejected or have his heart broken. Because she wants the bad boys. But she doesn't date the bad boy. She dates my doppelganger. It's like a reflection of me just skewed in a different direction. So this dude lies, saying that he's gay just to get close to her. Rather than taking a chance, being rejected, because that's gonna get you thick skin and a different perspective on how to approach. And that happens everywhere. You're too scared. Or someone fucked up your head, or someone fucked you. And you're confused about chemistry and identity because you don't have the male role models to stand up. And that's what I see here. Now where I'm from, we call it the Wild West. And that's in the East. In Hialeah, the cops make their own rules to a degree. They handle it the way they handle it. Don't ask, don't tell. That's some bullshit. That's some fucking bullshit. If you can't trust anybody on your six, that's why my circle's so goddamn small, because everybody showed their true colors. And I won't dare go into battle with people I can't trust on my six. I got a bunch of scars from that. Miami Lakes 2004 or 5. It's kind of fuzzy. So here I am, I'm a projectionist at a movie theater. An associate tells me that one of my friend's little sister was in a hostile situation with some dude that they knew. And the dude comes out, oh, look at that pussy, you and your homeboy. I'm like, you talking to me? Are you talking to me? So I go up to his car. Look, if you got beef with them, you go across the street and settle that shit. Don't bring that shit to me, and don't bring that shit to my friend's little sister. So the dude goes for his baseball bat. So I got no choice but to file on you. And I did. Self-defense. I fired on him. And I didn't mean to beat him up on top of his girlfriend. But that's what happened. And the associate that I was with came in like a bitch and sucker punched the dude after I handed him. I'm like, yo, what are you doing? I got this. I didn't know they were all in on it. So here I am as a projectionist. He's like, dude went to go get his boys. So I called my would-be friends. The people I thought were my friends. My best friends at that. I should have been more strategical. I know my mistake. I was a projection. I could have been on the roof scouting the whole thing, but when I heard they got weapons, I didn't want none of my friends down there. Not without me. So the stupid one of the bunch approaches two armed men, talking about, we don't have to take it to this level. From my perspective, as I'm taking off my uniform, all I see is clap, clap, and he goes down. We got the numbers, they got the weapons, or so I believe. So I go rush to his aid. I dodge a dude with the pipe, and I go after the one guy with the stick who was beating on the associate. So I knee him in the head a couple of times. I knock his ass down, and his brother takes a baseball bat swing with a pipe and cracks me right here. Lights out. But in a serious manner. Talking about tongue hanging out. I'm completely unconscious, so I can't tell you how long, but I knew I was gone. I've been knocked silly. I've seen stars. I've seen all that shit, but I ain't never died like that before. Next thing I know, what I can only describe as a heavenly encounter. Because from the time in between the fight and the time when I come back, I'm in the embrace, surrounded by light, and I, like every other being, ask why. You know why. Life is a canvas, and we are the master painters. Create. I got to see what I needed to see, and I chose to fall. I chose to come back because I'm not going to be done like that. There's too much injustice in this world for me just to lay down and die. So I get back and I rise. Double leg on the dude who hit me, and I just start wailing on him. I break my favorite watch. And then betrayal. Top of the head. Split again. The only difference is I wasn't going back to heaven. I stood right up and I looked up in the face, and that was the first time he seen my eyes turn all black. And I told him not even a baseball bat's gonna stop me. So I went to the other dude and kicked him in the face. And then they ran away. And I followed him to the car. I was debating on breaking my hand through the window, but the door was open. So I opened the door and I just start punching until they drive away. And here I'm on shift. I'm a projectionist. They're like, hey, the movies haven't started yet. And I'm sitting here bloody and battered. And they're like, Jonathan, we got to fire you. I'm like, I understand. My doppelganger comes. My little sister, just destroyed that relationship. She chose to. Too paranoid from all the drugs and the alcohol given to her by my mom's boyfriend. So he's with another chick. They bring me some weed, so I smoke weed on the way to the hospital. I get there, the doctor sits me down, examining. In Florida, they don't give you Medicaid, they don't give you help with none of that. So they're just giving me bare minimum treatment. So the doctor sticks his fingers into the laceration. To them, it might have seemed knuckle deep, but to me, I could feel the fingers. So the dude staples my head, da, 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 da. I don't even flinch. I go to court, and I'm in a groggy state. I'm halfway in and out. I'm literally dealing with this encounter I had, and I'm not talking about the parking lot brawl. I'm not talking about the 6-on-1. I'm talking about what happened in between that. And everything's like just so heavy, and this burden is weighing down on me. And I go to court, and I don't know that I should sit there and tell them. This wasn't just no street fight. These dudes brought a pipe and an axe handle and wrapped a pipe around my head. But they had a lawyer and I didn't. I was late for court because I didn't have a ride. I didn't have anything. Talking about they got to get their story straight. I guess this is going to be about fighting then, because I wanted to talk about Dexter. Dexter New Blood, they just released the first episode, and I watched it on YouTube. I'll put the link somewhere. I have a lot of theories. Lake iron. Liquid iron. Blood. And if you don't know what a doppelganger is someone usually it's someone who looks like you, but in my case, I'm very hard to replicate. So someone who is similar to you, like a reflection of personality, a person. Where I'm serious, he's crude. Like a brother to me. The consequences, right? And how they're dealt with. The story just gets deeper from here, but I think I'm gonna cut this one a little short. Because if you go to Dexter, if you go to YouTube and type Showtime Dexter and you watch the first episode, you can read my comments, so I don't really have to go back into saying anything else. But I did notice that Angela is Native Deb. And what I should have done, instead of talking about just violent things, I should have went on a rant about my fan fiction and where am I going with it. I was writing something, but I'm banned from Facebook for 30 days because somebody antagonizes me. The homosexuals antagonize me on the internet. They create fake profiles and they send people to just be stupid with the things that I love. If you're going to sit there and insult something that I love, I'm going to take all of you on. I got the time and the know-how, and I got thick skin, and I got the courage, and I know how to get under yours. The antithesis of my enemies. That's why it's easy for me, because when you're just one, you got one story to stick to. When it's many, They got to collaborate to stick to that many stories. Who's more of a criminal? The guy with a bunch of weed charges and trespassing? Or all of them with all of the drugs and prostitution? It should be simple, right? But go ask the dude named Jesus Christ. Oh, wait, that's not his name, right? No? He's a Jewish guy. What's a Jewish name? Jonathan fits. And on the spot, I want to just dive into it, but I know I'm 30 minutes and like 5 minutes going to say no space and then crash. And here's a tip for all of you who upload on YouTube and realize that the time lags. I learned this from somebody else. I forgot the name of the channel. I was going to give them a shout out, but if you notice, I don't give that many people shout outs who are not famous. When you're uploading a large video on YouTube, edit it later. First, upload the video. Keep it blank. And then write what you need to. Add what you need to. Edit what you need to. Revise. And since this is a rambling rant, I will say... Let's go until the wheels fall off then. The scene is after my character follows Deborah Morgan or Officer Morgan to a crime scene that she's called upon. He watches from his vehicle, and they met prior. She didn't see his car, but she's seen his face. And my hostile actions towards her, well, towards her brother, his general direction, it was towards her brother. So after her lieutenant sends her on a mission to find any surveillance footage to prove that a suicide was not a suicide, she speaks to a security guard, and the security guard shows her around and shows her with the cameras, and then she sees a vehicle that's strange. It's not supposed to be there. And her instincts kick in, and she goes to investigate, and my character freezes. He's not sure how to do things. He's super awkward, unfamiliar with tradition, unfamiliar with being normal. There is no normal in a world of solitude. Bouncing from foster home to foster home, my character has developed so many different antisocial behaviors that there is no home. It's just a constant set of motion. But my character is older now, fresh out of the foster system. But so much so that his caseworker has to place him in a halfway house just so he can get onto his feet. And there he meets a friend who offers him a job at a movie theater. Now, just because he grew up in the foster system does not mean he is dulled. Highly intelligent, very capable, and almost photographic memory. But there's a catch. Spending so much time in the foster system and rebelling against the silent evil that is within. He takes a trip to an institution that uses unconventional methods that makes it hard for him to be normal. So after this encounter with Officer Morgan, he realizes that she is his kryptonite. He sees her and freezes, doesn't know what to do, doesn't know how to act, reverts back to a simple nature rather than one of constant analyzation. My character thinks so deeply in such a dark manner that his imagination and his lack of trust or caring for any other but self leaves him in a constant state of in and out. And as he flees, he ends up back at the movie theater and he contemplates. He's so lost and stuck in bewilderment that he just can't understand why this one particular person makes him so vulnerable. Now, my character isn't completely alone. Like I said, he made a friend. But he also has a caseworker who is like a mother to him. But even her, she does not have the same effect. She empowers him, but doesn't leave him in a state of what the fuck. And as my character is sitting behind the wheel of his car, stuck on the steering wheel, he ponders everything. It seems like no matter where he is, she's there to stop him. And he has crossed the line, but only for good. There's been a couple of situations where he uses his high-functioning ability to write justices for those who cannot write it for themselves. And his method is merely with his hands until he develops a taste for blood. Not a literal taste, but a metaphorical taste, just to watch it flow. Especially blood that has been tainted and saturated with vile, evil nature. My character understands that there are a lot of victims, but these are people who choose the darkness over fighting for what's right. While selfish in nature, there are elements of selflessness that can be seen throughout his origin. And the story takes place, the majority of it, the bulk of it, takes place in one trip. From one end of 103rd to the other. Now, my character struggles with a lot of internal demons. My character, his belief is only what he can see, what he can feel. Science, really. But there's always been this divinity that surrounds him. He's just too blinded by the search of truth that he misses all the subtleties that he is given. Life is chaos. And like a hurricane, the moments you do find of peace are only temporary. Only to be shaken up again by a world of violence and lies. Like my character hates deceit. While my character doesn't respect the traditional King James version of the Bible, he does appreciate the order that stems from it. My character only wants peace, not just for himself, but for all things that come after him. My character feels conflicted because my character doesn't want anyone to feel what he feels. He wants a world where we all can be happy little robots. And if we just look around, it's not impossible. It's very much so. I should have been more organized with this, now that I think about it. But just rambling on and jabbing at what I can. To me, this was a wasted rant. I don't feel fulfilled by the words because I guess the subject matter. And the only thing that can be learned is something that can be read. But I'm almost at the 45-minute mark, so let me wrap this up. The balance of self-serving and selflessness is a constant. The world serves its own needs. Don't forget to serve your own needs. Borrowed that line from REM. The problem with the world is that it has no willpower. And because that's the problem, and it's not just the 1%, the wealth that rules the world to manipulate slavery. It's the common people who are too unwilling to do what they have to do. And I don't mean by going to work, but to take responsibility for their actions. They're living in shame. They're living in fear. Allowing groups to form that wants you to live in shame, that wants you to live in fear, and that wants you to suffer because misery loves company. And they love being miserable. And these are the people who were abused. These are the people who were manipulated, mistreated, disposed of. Because they were too naive and too weak to stand up and fight. Because they knew they couldn't withstand the war. And I guess tomorrow I'll script something. So I'm going to remain unscripted. That's the title of this one, Remaining Unscripted. For the time being. Until I find a method to fill 45 minutes and make me feel great doing it. Right now I feel all right. Right now I feel like I want to smoke some weed, but I'm going to wait till the 27th. Bruce Lee's birthday. When you have a lot of enemies, be strategical, take your time, and when the moment's right, know the law. Study it. It's free. It's on the internet. Because when you have to take the law into your own hands, you have to do your due diligence. That's what the cops are going to tell you. And when someone's bullying you, voice it first. Do the right thing. And let it be known, hey man, stop messing with me. So that way your actions will be justified. As long as you don't take it overboard. Don't go way too far. This seems like an empty rant, but that's what tomorrow's for. I want to keep talking because I want just to feel good, to get this off my chest. This is therapy. That's why I rant. And usually when I rant to myself. I rant without trying to be in camera, without trying to sound like I know what I'm talking about. And for the most part, I do. When I rant to myself, I like the way I rant. I feel great afterwards. It's like a beautiful release. When you live in a world of betrayal, happiness is always fleeting. Seize the moment when you can, enjoy it, and know that it'll be gone in the next blink. Enjoy your own company. That fear of loneliness, that fear of solitude, it's terrible.